All right, guys, welcome back to another podcast on MMA.Unhinged. Today we are talking about UFC Vegas 49 and UFC 272. We've got such a big episode to talk about. And once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Oscar Silva. How's it going?
It's going great here in cloudy Chicago. This is going to be an epic weekend, and we had an epic weekend this past weekend. I said we go right into it. We had Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green in the main event, and Islam came into this fight as a minus 900 underdog, and he looked every bit of it. He went out there, he took Bobby Green down at will, and this has been very impressive what Islam has been doing. He's now pursuing finishes early in fights, and he's getting them. As soon as he got into that full mount on Bobby Green, I knew it was going to be a bad day at the office for Bobby. Bobby simply could not get up, and eventually he stopped moving. He stopped defending himself well, and Herb Dean just had to wave off the fight. Islam was just overwhelming Bobby, and I feel like a lot of people overplayed Bobby Green's chances in this fight, especially on short notice. The guy had just landed 100-plus significant strikes just a couple weeks ago, and we know for sure his body's not healed up since then. And on top of that, he has to cut a considerable amount of weight. I knew Bobby Green wasn't going to be at 100% in this fight. And fighting Islam Makhachev, that's just not a winnable situation, really. And Islam simply had a huge advantage on the ground, and it was very evident. Nobody's ever done this to Bobby Green, but then again, he had never faced Islam. Islam is the real deal. I don't care that he doesn't have a top 5 win. This guy's on a 10-fight win streak, and he's undeniable. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, I've got to agree. Islam Makhachev, we were talking about it before we went on air, and I was saying, this guy could be better than Khabib, and it's crazy to think because, he's got all the skill set that Khabib had, but his striking is better. He's more aggressive with the submissions, and the ground and pound is just ruthless. This guy is phenomenal. I see him going all the way. I feel like this guy will definitely reach a title one day, and he'll definitely gain a title one day. And I would love to have seen him, for Rafael. No. Who was
Rafael dos Anjos?
Yeah, Rafael dos Anjos. I would prefer him to fight Rafael dos Anjos on this card, but wait, who was he meant to fight before Bobby Green came out? It was
Beneil Dariush.
Oh, but that's it. I'm getting all mixed up. We got so many pullouts this week. I'll get mixed up. But yeah, Beneil Dariush. I would like to see Islam Makhachev fight Beneil Dariush. I feel like that would have been a real test of what he's made of. But Bobby Green, we knew what we were going to get from him. He was going to be game, and unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. Islam Makhachev is just too good.
Yeah, Bobby Green. Shout out to him for taking this fight in the first place. It's obvious that nobody said yes in the top 15. The UFC never gives fighters that are unranked main event slot unless they're fighters that were previously in the rankings. And Bobby Green, if I'm not mistaken, has never really been in the rankings because he doesn't care about them. He doesn't pursue them. And he had a huge opportunity in this fight. And, of course, he did not accomplish what he wanted to out there. But indirectly, he did gain a ton of fans and got a lot of attention from this. So, in my opinion, Bobby Green's stock, even though he got absolutely mauled, does not decrease. Would you agree?
Yeah, I've got to agree. Bobby Green's always fantastic watcher. I feel like it was justified that he got a main event, but he said afterwards that he doesn't like fighting in main events because he got to wait so long. And this guy just likes to fight. It wouldn't surprise me if we see him back in the cage in a month or a few weeks, accepting a short notice fight. This guy loves to scrap, and I feel like he could definitely contest in the top 15, but maybe just outside. I feel like the top 10, top 15, and maybe just too good for Bobby Green, but he's a fighter. He's always willing to scrap, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah, 100%. That Brad Riddell fight surely will be on the table for Bobby after this, and that would be fantastic. Wow. And talking about fantastic fights, we'll move on to the co-main event. Misha Cirkunov lost to Wellington Turman via second-round armbar. It was looking like a tough fight for Misha early in the fight. He got his back taken, and I thought for a second that maybe Turman was about to pull off the backpack rear naked choke submission early, but Misha, of course, a well-experienced black belt, he stuck in there. He did not quit in there, and eventually he was able to get him off his back, and he got Turman on the ground and started landing huge ground and pound shots. It really roughed up Turman, and I fooled myself into thinking Misha was going to win the fight in that sequence there. I always like to talk about how I changed my picks, especially after the show. I changed my pick in this fight. On the show, I said Misha wins by first round submission. But after analyzing that Misha probably won't be able to submit a fellow black belt in Turman, I was thinking probably Turman wins the decision after Misha gets down in the first round. And that's what happened. After the first round, Misha was a little more labored in his breathing, and he started off having success and even attempted a north-south choke. I thought he was going to get it there for a second, but eventually he got on top. He was very tired, and he started landing lazy ground and pound. And when you start landing that kind of ground and pound, it opens up your arm. Turman snatches up that arm, and Misha taps immediately. So you know that was the perfect positioning for Turman to break that arm. And this is the most impressive performance of Turman's career, if you ask me. Would you agree?
Yeah, I've got to agree. It was a good performance from Wellington Turman. If I thought Mika Serkinov was going to get it done, I would have presumed submissions. We know how good he is on the ground, and I think Wellington Turman, shocked me in this one. He definitely proved me wrong. I thought he was going to get beat. I thought there was even a possibility that Misha Serkinov knocked out Wellington Turman. We've seen him took a lot of shots in the past, get knocked out by a lot of shots. So, yeah, I'm still risky on that chin of Turman, but it didn't really. I didn't really get in harm's way that much, but the submissions, it was good. I thought Serkinov was going to get it done by submissions. Wellington Turman proved me wrong, so kudos to him. He's not. I don't think he'll make it to the top 15. As I said about Bobby Green, I feel like he's there's too many fighters in that middleweight division that are in front of him that are better fighters than him. But since moving to go to Casuara, Jim, he's looked better. So
yeah, Turman, I thought he was not going to be cut out for the UFC after he got knocked out back-to-back in the first round by Bruno Silva and Andrew Sanchez. I thought the guy was done. I actually picked Sam Alvey, of all people, to beat Wellington Turman. And somehow, somewhere, Sam Alvey, we just heard the news yesterday, he's going to stay in the UFC after going 0-7-1 in his last 8 fights. I don't know what kind of leverage Sam Alvey has, but it has to be pretty major for the UFC to let go of more skilled fighters than Sam. But yeah, pretty wild stuff there. But nonetheless, Turman is looking better than ever. When you're working out with the champ, it has to be a confidence booster, especially in the jiu-jitsu department. So yeah, good stuff for Wellington Turman there. I think Misha probably should go back to light heavyweight. It appears he's just not as powerful as he was at light heavyweight. So we'll move on to the fight of the night. Ji Young Kim lost to Priscilla Casuara by unanimous decision. But did she really? Let's be honest here. This was a very sloppy fight on Casuara's end. She did damage, sure, but in the end, it was there was very little technique was used when she threw those strikes. But don't get me wrong, fantastic fight. That third round might be a nominee for round of the year. That was a straight up dogfight. We'll talk about the first round. First round was a clear Ji Young Kim round. Casuara was just throwing with the intent of getting the knockout, but Ji Young Kim was straight up just sniping Casuara from the outside, and it was looking like it was going to be Ji Young Kim's fight. But Casuara gets a takedown at the end of the round. That doesn't give her the round. That's complete nonsense. She did nothing with that takedown. The second round was the most clear round of the fight. Casuara starts getting marked up by those strikes by Ji Young Kim, and she's just so inaccurate with those power shots, and you can see them from a mile away. It's a clear Ji Young Kim round. Third round, that was the closest round of the fight, obviously, because Ji Young Kim hurts Casuara bad. It looks like she might get a knockout early. But then Casuara starts throwing elbows like nobody's business. She started throwing elbows like somebody just started playing UFC 4 and they just learned what an elbow was. And they were pretty effective, but a lot of them actually missed. I just feel it was the visual of the cut on Ji Young Kim that was the difference maker. and somehow the judges give her that round and the first round. All three of them, I don't see it at all. I feel like this was a robbery.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I mean, it was a close fight, but I thought Jin Kim done enough. I feel like she'd done enough in the scorecard. As you were talking about the first round, the second round, it was a good round, and that third round, just all out war. As you talked about, definitely round of the year contender, definitely could be put up there. But if you look at the stats, she landed officially 70 more punches than if we're doing precisely, 69 more punches than Casuara. I know the judges don't see this, but surely you can see it during the fight when you're watching it live. I mean, look at the. I know, if you look at the damage afterwards and how their faces looked, Priscilla Casuara just looked like she had been beaten for 10 rounds straight, and Jin Kim barely had a scratch in it. It beludes me, it confused me how she won this one. But Jin Kim definitely, I felt like, got robbed of the win. And if you're Casuara, you're probably entering the lottery that night, because she must have felt lucky.
Yeah, at least she's got the 50 grand to consolidate her sorrow from losing this fight. And this is a tough stretch for Jin Kim. She's now on a 3-fight skid. I really would hate to see her get cut, especially when you're keeping guys like Sam Malley on the roster. So let's move on to Arman Tsarukyan's dominant performance over Joel Alvarez. This is the best I've ever seen Arman look. In the first round, I thought Arman would shoot for a takedown quicker, because coming into this fight, Joel Alvarez had 0% takedown defense. That's very concerning when you're fighting a good wrestler like Arman. And Arman stood with him confidently, and I felt like nobody really had much of an edge on the feet. Tsarukyan was pressuring him more, and eventually just gets that takedown, and goodness gracious, starts landing nasty ground and pound, eventually lands the elbow that cuts open Joel Alvarez. And some guys like the blood, some guys don't. Joel Alvarez is a guy that does not like the blood. You could see that he was discouraged as soon as he started tasting his own blood. The guy could obviously not see, and Tsarukyan just do whatever he really wanted with him. And we both acknowledged that Joel Alvarez's best chance in this fight, besides getting a knockout, was getting something off of his back. But when you got that much blood in there, it's going to be way too slippery to get a tight submission. So I was beyond confident that Arman would eventually get that finish, and he did in that second round. He gets one takedown and just starts destroying Joel. And Joel can't defend himself because he doesn't know where the strikes are coming from. The blood's all up in his eye. And Tsarukyan just walks away with the win here. Second round TKO. This guy's only lost to Islam Makhachev in the UFC. No shame in that loss. I see him challenging for the title eventually.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you, and I think it's going to be Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan 2 for that title. I feel like they'll eventually meet for the title. I think it's going to happen, but as we're talking about this fight, I think Arman, as you talked about, this is the best performance to date against Joel Alvarez, who I thought had a really legitimate reason of beating Arman. I think Joel Alvarez is a phenomenal fighter, good stand-up. As we talked about, his jiu-jitsu is phenomenal, and definitely could have got Arman in a submission, but as you talked about, that blood just made it more difficult. A perfectly timed elbow just sliced him open, and it was quite a scary scene because it was a lot of blood. So I'm kind of glad the fight was stopped when it was, because he lost a lot of blood. So but kudos to Armin, he was phenomenal this night, and the only way is up for him is the only way is up for him now. So I'd like to see him maybe get a top 10, top 5 matchup. I think that would definitely be on the horizon for him. As you talked about, he's definitely a good challenge for a fight for a title, and I feel like it might be against Islam Makhachev eventually down the road in like 2024, 2023.
Yeah, surely, and that will be a fantastic matchup when it happens. And the fight that opened the main card was a fantastic matchup. Armin Petrosian defeated Gregory Rodriguez by split decision. I felt that Armin did quite enough to win this fight. If you look at the strike stats, which usually aren't good indicators of who won the fight, Armin was ahead every round. In the first round, Armin didn't look as impressive as I thought he would. It looked like the pressure from Gregory was getting to him, and Gregory looked better than ever out there. He was standing with a legit kickboxer, looking really good out there, hurting him constantly. But at the end of the day, I felt like even though Gregory landed the more impactful shots, you can't tell me Petrosian himself wasn't doing more damage with all of his output. That was attacking all three levels. We're talking about 39 leg kicks. We know Gregory's limping probably right now. Just mixing it all up, and I felt he did enough. Do you believe he did enough? Because there was a little bit of a debate over this one.
It was a close one, but I felt like Petrosian did do enough. It was a closely contested fight. You always talked to me about if I'm correct, his nickname is RoboCop, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, you always talked to me about how underrated RoboCop was since his burst onto that UFC scene. You definitely gave him some high praise, and I felt like it was a good fight. He definitely contested in this one, but I felt like Armin Petrosian did do enough, and it was a good fight, but. A split decision.
Yeah, it was a close one. I picked Armin Petrosian here. He was one of the two underdogs I picked on this main card that I actually got right. Petrosian, I thought he was going to be able to knock out Gregory, and he wobbled him many times, but props to Gregory for, keeping his defense up in this fight, because I feel like my image of Gregory got severely impacted when I saw him get knocked out by Jordan Williams on the Contender Series. I thought Gregory was going to submit him easily, but he goes out there and just gets put away that quickly. So I feel like Gregory has definitely worked on his defense here, and it's paid off, but he's got to work on the volume now, because that's a clear issue, and maybe a little bit on the cardio, because in that third round, he rocks Petrosian bad with that kick, busts his nose open, and he takes it to the ground. He's a black belt in judo, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he almost gets a Sulov stretch there. I thought he had it in, but props to Petrosian for getting out of there. It appears that Gregory just didn't have the energy to finish the submission, and that was a shame, because I had money on this fight ending inside the distance, and it did not. So what a shame there, but nonetheless, epic fight, and I feel like it was equally as good as the other fight of the night. So I feel like they should have handed out a double fight of the night bonus for this one.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. It was a fantastic performance, but by both men, it was a good one. And if you said, like you said, if Gregory had more in the tank, he could probably put more pressure on in the late rounds. So it was stuff to work on for Gregory, RoboCop, and Petrosian. Carrying on with his win streak. But someone else who's carrying on with his win streak is Barbosa. This guy's a real killer. I feel like he's a real player at lightweight. Definitely a few more fights to come. I feel like he can be up there challenging for the top 15. The size of him is incredible. The size of him, his pace of him, his volume, everything about him is phenomenal. Was you impressed with Barbosa on this night?
I was. I feel like he probably should have gotten a bonus for this one. It was such a good card. There was so much competition for bonuses. But if you want to talk about just a fully impressive performance in every aspect of the game, this is what this was. Barbosa looked phenomenal out there. His whole style is predicated on volume, because he's not exactly a heavy hitter, but he just overwhelms guys with volume. Rong Shu was definitely the less technical fighter in this fight. Rong Shu was just looking for the big shots, and in the process, Barbosa would land almost 3 for every one strike that he threw, and he just left Rong Shu way behind on the scorecards. He had him looking silly out there with his pink hairstyle, and wow, Barbosa, he showed a new wrinkle in his game, because Rong Shu shoots a desperation takedown after he's gotten pieced up on the feet, and he gets that Darce choke. I don't know why it's called the guillotine. It was definitely a Darce choke in the third round. This is the second third round finish for Barbosa. It's a perfect exclamation point on this performance, because I thought Barbosa would win via decision, but he just breaks guys in there, and he's looking better every time we see him out there. He's definitely got a ton of scar tissue. Definitely needs to elevate his defense. But, man, you have to appreciate the output. And he's already one of the most watchable fighters in the UFC. The guy, I don't think he's capable of a bad fight, honestly.
Yeah, for someone like Barbosa, he's always looking a way to win the fight. If it's the third round, a minute to go, we saw against Roosevelt Roberts. He's trying to finish the fight, and that's what I like about him. As you talked about, is someone that you always want to watch. He's entertaining, and he always brings the scrap. And his performances, he never lets the performance down. He's always there, and he always shows up. And he showed up in this fight, and you could tell he won the fight because his opponent Rongzhu just head down. He was ashamed of the performance, but I think no one probably could have stopped Martinez on this night. He was a man on a mission.
100%. He's one of the guys to watch out there in the lightweight division, which is super stacked. We'll move on to Josiane Nunes's unanimous decision over Ramona Pascual. We both thought Josiane would get a finish here. She did not, but she still looked quite impressive out there. We talked about the level of fighter that Ramona was. She's not UFC caliber. She just happened to live in Vegas, and the UFC needed a spot to be filled. She was there to fill it. And, yeah, she kind of performed like we thought she would. She was super hittable. As I said, like, very minimal experience, so she fought like it. Bad fight IQ. She just started swinging hammers with Josiane, which is the best shot that Nunes had of winning the fight. So clearly a low fight IQ, and she was very durable out there. I'll say that. In that second round, which I scored a 10-8, it looked like the fight was over. And one thing with Josiane, she's very powerful, but that takedown defense is awful. Goodness gracious. Ramona gets the takedown very easily, and it was obvious to me that she was in survival mode. All she does is put her head in her chest, land basically 0 ground and pound, while Josiane is landing elbows off of her back, easily around for Josiane. And third round is just more of the same. But shout out to Ramona for sticking it out there. But yeah, Josiane is a very dangerous fighter.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. As you talked about there, her only flaw in that game is that takedown defense. I feel like if she works on that, she could definitely be a player in the well, it says women's featherweight, but it was on a short notice, but in that bantamweight division. But I feel like eventually she's going to be outmatched because of the size of her. I feel like she's a little bit too small for that bantamweight division. But eventually, I do see maybe a drop down to flyweight. I don't know whether that would be possible for her, but that's definitely, if I was her, that would be the option I'd look at. Because when she gets to the top of the divisions, top of the division, these girls are bantamweight. They're big, so maybe a possible flyweight move. That's what I would look at. But she hits like a truck. And shout out to Pascual because she took every single shot and she kept on coming. She got dropped. I thought the fight was going to be finished, and she just came back. So she had an incredible heart. But the most important thing now is she's in the UFC. She's got another fight, and she's probably going to have a full camp for that one. So congrats to her inside the UFC. And Nunes, man, yeah, she's a real player. I feel like it was a good fight for her, and I like to see when she fights next. I'll definitely be watching. She's entertaining.
For sure. We'll move on to Terence Mckenney's first round submission. Off for us, Terence Mckenney is a monster. He's dangerous for anybody in that first round. This guy has legitimate one punch KO power, one kick power, and apparently one submission attempt power. He fought Fares, and Fares is a French kickboxer. Doesn't have a great ground game, and it was evident here once Fares was able to get a ground. He was just levels ahead. As they mentioned on the broadcast, he's an Olympic hopeful, and Fares doesn't have really a wrestling background. So Terence was levels ahead, and eventually he gets his back, submits him, and wow, he's very controlling in these positions here. I'm very impressed with Terence's wrestling. I thought he was gonna come to this fight with just a power punching approach, and I personally didn't think that was gonna work out for him because Fares is a very technical fighter, pretty hard to get to. But he fought this fight smart, and he has a very diverse skill set. There's still a ton of room to improve for Terence, but what I'm seeing right now, I think maybe in 5 years we could see him in the top 15.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Terence Mckenney, another first round finish. And I believe this was longer than maybe the last 4 of his fights. Yeah. So this guy is an absolute killer. But I would definitely like to see him enter that second and that third round. I just want to see him tested a little bit. I know it's early on, but you always want to see a fighter tested, see what he's like in that second and third round, and really win a hard fought battle. That's when you know what a fighter's all about. But I mean, first round finish, you can't really complain. Terence Mckenney gets it done by submission. I mean, with his power in his hands, this is probably, I didn't really expect it, but he got it done. He showed his versatility. But congrats to Mckinney, man. This guy is a real hot prospect. Stepping in the UFC on short notice, I believe, as well. And now look at him. So he's doing well for himself in the UFC. And as you talked about, definitely 5 years down the line, he'll be in the top 15, top 10. So congrats to him. I feel like he could probably reach that top 15, as I said. But wow, good performance from Terence Mckenney. I don't know what's next for him, but whatever it is, I'm definitely watching.
You know what I want to see next? I want to see Jim Miller next. Jim Miller just got a second round knockout against another young gun. Jim Miller's looking great out here, and he definitely could offer some adversity to Terence on the ground. And Terence could definitely have a tough fight on his hands if it goes out of the first round, or if we see Jim get a hold of his neck. I feel like that'd be a very interesting fight. I would pick Terence in that fight, but Jim could give him some problems.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate it. And you talked about the Jim Miller grappling. And as of late, Miller's been knocking guys out, so he can't sleep on the hands either.
100%. And we'll move on to Jonathan Martinez's unanimous decision win over Alejandro Perez. This was a really good fight from Martinez. This was exactly what I expected. Except for the knockdown from Perez, of course. In the first round, Perez, his whole career, he's just had really low volume, and it's really not usually a winnable formula. But this guy actually was once on a 7-fight winning streak in the UFC. It's worked out for him somehow, some way. But against Martinez, I knew he would not be able to get away with it because Martinez is definitely a volume guy. In the first round, Martinez definitively wins the round, but he gets knocked down. But I don't feel like it was a pure knockdown in the fact that Martinez was caught off balance. He went to throw a kick. He got clipped. And the heavy ground and pound shots were actually the bigger shots, in my opinion. But that alone should not give Perez the round. In the second round, it was more of the same. Once he hears the clapper for the 10 seconds, he just goes out there and tries to knock him out. And that's not enough. And in the third round, he goes out there looking for the kill. And even though he fought more aggressively with higher output, when he threw more output, it gave an opportunity for Martinez to increase his output. So this was just a great fight for Martinez. I loved his use of kicks here. And once he mixed it in with the hands, he just looked even better. Martinez is still a developing fighter, but he just beat a tough, experienced vet. I feel like it's just another step up in competition for Martinez after this.
Yeah, I've got to agree. The only problem I have with Martinez, he always seems to get cracked. So maybe that defensive, he needs to work on that defensive, the striking defense. But it was a good performance. As I talked about, when he did get cracked, I thought, oh, here we go again. The same problem that's happened within in his last few fights with David Grant, and I thought the same situation might happen. But he toughed it out. He got back up and kept on going at him. So I've got to praise him for that. It was a great performance. It was stuck in his face. The kicks, man, the kicks are lethal. Lethal. They're unpredictable. They're lethal. He mixes them up really well. A fantastic fight, and Jonathan Martinez has all the perks to become a good fighter. But I feel like he's just got to work on that striking defense, and I feel like he could definitely challenge in there with the best in the world.
Yeah, I feel like for Jonathan Martinez, the next fight for him should be Montel Jackson. That's a guy you definitely got to keep your guard up against.
You trying to put him out? What?
Hey, I feel like if it goes a decision, I think we're seeing Martinez get his hand raised there. I feel like he's a more technical.
I mean, I don't hate it. It's a fantastic matchup.
It's an interesting fight. I feel like we could see a fight of the night there. That's just my suggestion. After Montel lost his after Montel pulled out of the fight with Dana Bakari, I feel like that's a fight. We'll move on to Ramiz Brahimaj, his first round submission over Michael Gilmore. This was easy as cake for Brahimaj. Gilmore this guy was not even skilled enough to be put inside of the Ultimate Fighter house as one of the originals. There was some pretty low-level talent in there. The guy just threw everything away in his life and just went full on, became a full-time fighter. And Dana White respected that, so he got put in the house. And when you're fighting a guy like Brahimi and you don't have good submission defense, it's not going to be a good night for you, especially when you don't have a wrestling background, which Michael Gilmore does not. He's a karate black belt. That's kind of his main skill, and that's a terrible matchup for paper for Gilmore. As we suspected, first round submission for Brahimi, rear naked choke. It just was too easy for Brahimi out there.
Yeah, this was a smart decision for Brahimi to step in at short notice because he was better than Michael Gilmore, and he proved it. It took 2 minutes for him to get the job done. It was a good wise decision for him to step in at short notice and get the job done. Just getting back in that wing column and prove he's still about. And Michael Gilmore, it wouldn't surprise me if this is the last UFC appearance. He's not UFC caliber, unfortunately. And the one time he had a good performance was against was it Petrosian? But you talked about
he only won a round off of that. Besides that, he got mauled.
But then it came out later and said he only did well against me because he was my main training partner in the Tough House.
Yeah, that was basically it there. I feel like they're going to give Gilmore one more shot, but I don't feel he deserves it. I don't think he's UFC level talent. Brahimi certainly is with that ultra high level black belt that he has. We'll move on.
Just quickly, I've got a good matchup for Michael Gilmore next. I know we've got Mike Jackson versus Dean Barry. I think it would make sense for Dean Barry, next, or Mike Jackson next for Michael Gilmore. And they're both. Dean Barry's on the come up. Michael Gilmore is a more experienced fighter, so maybe that one's next. But
I say give Michael Gilmore a striker, but not a favorable one. I say throw him in there with Blood Diamond.
Yes, 100%. That's a perfect matchup. Blood Diamond coming off, so yeah, 100%.
We'll move on to the opener of the card. Victor Altamirano lost to Carlos Hernandez by split decision. This was a very, very close fight. I picked Carlos Hernandez. I actually thought he would go out there and grapple successfully and just keep Altamirano on his back for an extended period of time. He only got 2 takedowns and didn't even get 90 seconds of control time. So that's what you need to know there. Hernandez was forced to strike here, and he fought very well. The guy trains in Chicago, just 30 minutes from where I live, with Bilal Muhammad and Ignacio Bahamondes. And he's very much improving his all-around game. And I thought Altamirano would be a little more farther ahead on the feet, but he wasn't exactly. I actually scored this fight for Altamirano. I thought it was a very close fight, but at the end of the day, I feel like Hernandez performed well enough to just do enough to get that decision. But close fight, very close fight. I honestly, if you scored for either guy, I'm not gonna call you crazy.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. It was a close fight. Could have went either way. As you're talking about, Hernandez, you thought he was going to win it. Maybe tougher than he thought, but a good fight and another good addition to the flyweights, both of them. Anyway.
Yeah, I really hate that we had to see Altamirano lose here. I feel like if he was matched up with another guy, probably gets the win. But it is what it is. He has nothing to be ashamed about. I feel like he's going to learn from that loss. And Hernandez definitely had some learning experiences in that fight. But shout out to Carlos Hernandez training out of Chicago. And we'll move on to this UFC 272 pay-per-view. Lenny has something to say. What's it?
We will not just yet because we got the recap of Silver Slips.
Oh, yeah. It was a tough night if you were banking big on Sarukian. Not Sarukian, on Rodriguez and Petrosian ending inside this, which I did. I felt like Rodriguez would be using his grappling a lot in that fight. He did not. And I feel like that was kind of a foolish move on his part. It might have cost him the whole fight, honestly. And in the end, it went to decision somehow. But It was close to getting finished on multiple occasions there. It was a tough night, but Islam Makhachev wins, Brahimaj wins, Bahamondes wins, and Petrosian wins. Wait, was this my four? This is my
Yes,
four.
this is what you picked.
Oh, for some reason I thought I put Rodriguez and Petrosian and inside the distance. Well, if you just bet on these four guys, you had yourself a good night. And I didn't even listen to my own advice on the episode. So I hope you guys did, because if you did, you were able to get plus money there. What that means is you got more than double of your money. So yeah, I hope you guys listened to me. From a betting perspective, it was a good card if you attacked it the right way, which I didn't. But yeah, stay tuned for UFC 272 Silva Slick.
And just before we get onto that, we got to talk about the most underrated middleweight of all time.
Oh yeah, Gegard Mousasi secures the first round TKO over Austin Vanderford. This was better than I ever expected it, honestly, to turn out for Gegard. I thought he had a long, grueling fight ahead of him. Austin Vanderford is very talented wrestler training out of ATT. I thought he might be able to get a couple takedowns here and extend the fight, but no. Gegard has very powerful hips, and he did not let Austin Vanderford impose his will on him, and eventually he just overwhelms him, lands vicious elbows, and just puts him away. My goodness, Gegard was levels above Austin here, and if you look at the records, we're talking about a guy that's 40-something in 7.
49.
Yeah, 49 and 7, nearly 50 pro wins. That doesn't even include his kickboxing experience. Versus Austin Vanderford, who had 11 fights heading into this fight. So experience-wise, it was a mismatch. Striking-wise, it was a mismatch. Gegard proved it here. And another successful middleweight title defense for Gegard. As he said, maybe the most underrated middleweight ever. Just because the wealth of his career was spent outside of the UFC. I feel like if this guy was in the UFC his whole career, he probably gets more respect. But unfortunately, fans don't pay as much attention to guys outside of the UFC, and Gegard does not get the respect. But in the UFC, the guy left on a 5-fight winning streak, and he earned the title shot, in my opinion, at the time. But Bisping, of course, was not playing it safe, but picking better matchups or guys that were a little less skilled than Gegard, if you ask me. So Gegard could have been a UFC champion if the stars aligned for him, but they did not. Now he's the Bellator champion, the rightful champion, and I feel like if he fights Adesanya, it would be a close fight.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. The thing is with Gegard, he mixes it up so well. He's striking and then his grappling. He's such a well-rounded fighter, and he definitely proved it in this one. The striking, he got that done, and then that takedown defense. Just levels of experience, as you talked about. It's too much experience for Gegard Mousasi against Austin Vanderford. I mean, and what bewilders me is Austin Vanderford has got maybe twice or 3 times more as followers on Instagram. I know I probably shouldn't look at that, but he's only got that amount of followers because who his girlfriend is. So it's crazy because Mousasi is one of the greatest middleweights of all time. He's up there, with Silva. He's up there with Adesanya, up there with Whittaker's. The only middleweights that I see better than him in this current generation is Whittaker and Adesanya. So this guy is, top 3 with middleweight right now.
I said let's not disrespect Marvin Vettori. I feel like Marvin Vettori's pressure would gave Gegard for some problems. But then again, Gegard is definitely top 5 middleweights in the world right now. It's a shame we can't see him compete with some of the UFC guys. But hey, that's something we can probably debate forever. But yeah, Gegard, give him his respect. The guy's almost got 50 pro wins, and he does not even have double-digit losses, which is something you typically see when somebody's fought that many times, and you kind of just give them a pass. But Gegard only has 7. That's so impressive, man.
Yeah, I've got to agree. And in the co-main event, we saw Sinead Kavanagh get the better of Leah McCourt. It was a tricky fight. Both women went to, go out with their heart. Sinead Kavanagh, I can't remember off the top of my head, maybe something to do with her knee went wrong.
Yeah, this was the told you so fight of the week. I picked Aaliyah McCord here. It was a tough one because once Sinead injured her leg, I was thinking, oh boy, this Leah McCord's fight, and that was not the case. Sinead just toughed it out there, and she kind of used the fence as a third leg there to keep her balance there. She's a warrior, man. I'm really impressed by the fact that she fought injured and she still managed to win. And she was just aggressive enough to win the unanimous decision. And she almost got that Kimura, very tight Kimura there. But Leah McCord has a lot of BJJ experience, so she was able to get out of it. I thought Kavanaugh was going to have a grappling disadvantage, but it appeared that she probably didn't here. And she's got a really good skill set. But for Scott Coker to go on the broadcast and announce that they're going to do the Cyborg rematch already is egregious and one of the worst examples of matchmaking I've ever seen. Like, that's a horrible fight to book. It makes no sense. It's going to be a terrible career move for Kavanaugh to take the fight, and I feel like it's going to be the same result, just a different date.
I mean, I've got to agree with you. They fought literally 2 months ago, and she got knocked out. Two or 3 months ago, and she got knocked out. It's crazy.
Yeah, that shows you how thin this featherweight division is. And let's be honest here, I feel like Bellator might be lowballing Kayla Harrison. I feel like Kayla Harrison would be the best move Bellator has made in maybe years. Honestly, I feel like Kelleher would bring so many eyes to Bellator. She'd be a great challenge for Cyborg. I would love that to see that fight. And I also wanted to talk about Mancharipov unanimous decision victory on this card. He came in as a huge favorite, and he looked like it. I thought we'd get a finish here, but his opponent, Jose Sanchez, I believe his name is, he was tough. He was pretty tough. If he was fighting a guy that wasn't as tough, probably doesn't get the finish. But yeah, Mancharipov was just ahead everywhere. He remains undefeated. I think we're looking at title material here with Mancharipov.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. Brett Johns as well, former UFC fighter, gets it done against another prospect back in the talking spot in the bantamweight division. And David Gallen is an interesting figure that I wanted to talk about as well. He did that Rolling Thunder knockout against Ross Pearson, and now he's beat another veteran against Charlie Leary. So he's definitely a player up there in that lightweight division. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from next. But not really else really to talk about on the card. But yeah, it was a good Bellator event. I enjoyed it. It was obviously it was in Ireland. The fans over there are phenomenal. So it was fantastic to see that atmosphere once again. But yeah, a good card. And then to top it off to announce Sinead Kavanagh as Chris Idol, it kind of ruined the moment after that. But Gegard Mousasi did his thing. For me, Gegard Mousasi, what I would like to see next is probably move to 205. But he can do it. So.
Yeah, I feel like we'll see Vadim Nemkov walk out of the tournament with the belt. I feel like he knocks out Corey Anderson early, and it sets up a very intriguing fight in Nemkov versus Mousasi, and that'd be a tough one to pick. Happy I don't have to pick that one right now, but I'm very happy to pick the main event of UFC 272, Covington versus Masvidal. The fight we've been waiting far too long for. The story has been told many times, so I'll be brief here. These guys lived together. They trained together. They were the best of friends. They cornered each other all the time. And eventually, they grew apart. Apparently, Colby Covington did not pay his coach. And it's the same coach that Masvidal had. So Masvidal took issue with it. And ever since, the beef has started. It's been put on the grill, and we're going to put it on the hamburger on this card, and I cannot wait to see it. I feel like this fight will not be as good as the press conference. The press conference is going to be super entertaining. We know Colby Covington's going to have some nasty things to say and some very entertaining lines ready. But, yeah, as I said, I don't believe this fight will be super entertaining because I feel Colby Covington has a huge edge when it comes to the wrestling. But the same can be said for Masvidal when it comes to the striking. He's definitely the better striker. But we've seen Jorge struggle many times against wrestlers. If you've seen any footage of these guys when they were training in ATT, I would say 7 times out of 10, it's Colby Covington taking down Jorge. Colby Covington has been the guy that has taught Jorge a lot about wrestling, and he knows exactly where Jorge's deficiencies are in the grappling game. He's taught him a lot, and the same can be said for Jorge when it's striking with Colby. He knows Colby's best combinations, where he's most comfortable. So that's going to be a very interesting wrinkle to this fight, because we've not seen a fight like this where guys have trained this closely together than these two. This is going to be so entertaining. I feel like the guy that does not fight emotionally probably wins the fight. If Jorge gets really fired up at the press conference, just goes out there to knock Colby's head off, it's going to present an easier takedown for Colby, and Colby will get it. I don't think Colby's ego will go in here, go into the octagon. The guy knows the best path to victory. It's just takedown after takedown, just pressure Jorge on the feet. The output will be fairly even, but once it gets to the ground, I think we're going to see Colby just get the takedown every round and win the decision. This reminds me of the Rashad Evans versus Rampage Jackson matchup. It just is what it is for Jorge. The guys just had to fight the 2 best welterweights in the world, and if we learn anything from that Usman versus Covington fights, those are the 2 best in the world. And Covington's gonna silence Jorge, because Jorge's making big threats out here, and I don't think he'll deliver on them. I'm a big Jorge fan, but it's not going to be his night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I just see Covington winning this fight. The wrestling, the pedigree, it's too much for Jorge Masvidal. What Covington learned in his high school, his college days, Masvidal wasn't learning that. He was fighting on the streets with Kimbo Slice, fighting in the backyard, brawling. He was a backyard brawler, and Covington, meanwhile, was in high school wrestling, learning technique. And this is going to be the difference of the fight: technique versus, I don't want to call it street, but a sort of a brawler style. Jorge Masvidal has really, really fast hands. I mean, one of the fastest that I've probably seen. The way he switches it up, his combinations are good. He mixes his punches up really well. That's the only problem I see with Covington, is if he gets, sometimes we see Covington want to stand, want to prove something. Covington doesn't need to do that. Take him down at will, suck his energy out, and in the 4th and the 5th round, maybe Covington can stand with him, play with him a little bit. But that Covington has to wrestle to win this fight. And as you talked about, Covington against Usman, them 2 fights showed that these 2 are the best welterweights in the world. Both of them. If Usman wasn't a welterweight, Colby Covington would be champion right now. So he's such in a weird position. But I think Covington beats Masvidal. And I think it's going to be easy as well for him. As you talked about, I feel like the wrestling is going to be far too superior for Jorge Masvidal. But we probably said that with Ben Askren versus Jorge Masvidal. And then what did Jorge pull out? A flying knee. So
yeah, don't count on Jorge throwing out that flying knee to start this fight. But here's the thing that I should point out here. Colby Covington got knocked down twice by Kamaru Usman in his last fight. That fight was in November of last year. That's about 3 months there. It's not a really long time for Colby to fully recover. I don't know. And Jorge, he hits harder than Kamaru. That's an undisputable fact. And that could be a scenario here, but Colby Covington's chin has held up against some pretty big hitters in the past, including Kamaru. He did get finished that first time, but I felt like that was a bad stoppage. Even if Masvidal lands the big bomb here, I don't think he puts Colby away, and Colby will just find the takedown over and over again. As I said, he knows how exactly to take down Jorge. He knows where Jorge is comfortable on the ground, and I feel like it's just going to be kind of a nightmare type fight for Jorge. But hey, we never know. maybe Jorge knows the most perfect way to defend a Colby Covington takedown. Maybe we see him strike the whole fight, and that would be a scenario where Covington loses. But I just don't see it. Colby Covington, even his striking has improved ever since he's gone to MMA Masters, and we could also see Jorge get clipped himself because he was fighting Usman in his last fight. He got knocked out straight up flatline for the first time in his career. That definitely is a concern, but Jorge is not the heavy hitter that probably will challenge his chin again. So, yeah, very interesting fight if we see their prior knowledge of each other's skill sets come to play here. But if you're just looking at this fight on paper without paying attention to the friendship and the former relationship, this should be a 50-45 unanimous decision for Colby Covington. It's gonna be a very exciting fight once we see the two guys in front of each other, not touching gloves to start the fight. It's gonna be a fun one. We'll move on to the brand new co-main event. I don't believe it's been updated on this card, but if you've been watching social media today, it's now set. Rafael dos Anjos will be taking on Renato Moicano. It's not official, but they verbally agreed to it, and it feels like the Islam Makhachev
Just
fight.
quickly top up on that. In recent moments, it has been made official. So
Wow.
there has been another fight as well that's been made finish. Mano Flori, she was looking for a fight. She now faces Jennifer Maia.
Wow, that's tremendous. Which source made it official?
I'll tell you right now. I saw it come up.
All right.
The first report was obviously MMA fighting. Here we go. 2 secs. If you top up on that, talk about RDA buses, and I'll quick try and find it.
Okay. Rafael dos Anjos was originally set to fight Rafael Fiziev. That was was it?
The UFC posted it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about that? So it's official. As
5 rounds. 5 rounds.
Wow, 5 rounds. Yeah, so Rafael dos Anjos was set to face Rafael Fiziev on the card. And I'll say right now, my pick was going to be the underdog. I thought Rafael dos Anjos was going to tire out Fiziev and get a 4th round arm triangle. That was my prediction for that fight. So that shows you where I believe Rafael is in his career. Sure, he's had a long way up. He is aging, but I don't expect the layoff to impact him that much here. He's got as a championship caliber skill set. The guy defeated prime Anthony Pettis to win the belt. Sure, he had an unfortunate situation there when he fought Eddie Alvarez, just got annihilated. But since then, he went to welterweight, and what did he do? He went on one hell of a run, and he earned himself an interim title shot against the guy main eventing the card, Colby Covington. So the guy has earned his way to 2 title shots. He won one of those. Now he's trying to get yet another title shot here. And it's unfortunate because the win over Fiziev would have done a lot more for him than the win over the unranked Renato Moicano. But at the end of the day, Moicano is a high-level fighter. We just talked about him a couple weeks ago after he submitted Alex Hernandez in the 2nd round. I thought he was going to lose that fight, but his striking just continues to look great, and his wrestling is the big part of his game that has improved here, and it's going to be a big tool to use against Rafael dos Anjos. So I see this being mainly a striking battle here. Both guys have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Dos Anjos probably would be the first one to pursue takedowns, but at the end of the day, I feel like they'll both respect their grappling skills, and we're going to see a striking battle here. And if you ask me who the better striker here is, it's very close, quite honestly. Moicano has really good volume. All you need to do is see that Calvin Kattar fight. Calvin Kattar, one of the best strikers in the featherweight division, absolutely pieces him up. And it's a very tough one to pick, but one thing that can be said is that Renato Moicano, former featherweight, Rafael dos Anjos, former welterweight. So it's obvious that we got a size advantage for Dos Anjos. This fight will be contested at 160 pounds. I don't know who that benefits, but at the end of the day, Dos Anjos always has struggled with the weight cut to lightweight, so probably will benefit Dos Anjos. So I see Dos Anjos probably getting a decent amount of clinch work in, probably some time against the fence for him. And on the feet, it's going to be very close, man. Both guys have good calf kicks. I feel like maybe Dos Anjos will be able to use it more effectively since he's fighting a taller fighter. At the end of the day, it's going to be a close one. I think we're looking at a Rafael Dos Anjos unanimous decision here. Unless we see it go to the ground, where if you ask me who has the grappling advantage, I will give a slight lean to Dos Anjos just because of the size. Probably a physical strength goes to him as well. Wrestling advantage goes to him as well. I see this being a Dos Anjos unanimous decision, but not with much confidence. What's your take on this fight? Because I'm very curious.
It's a very close matchup. I feel like it could go either way, if I'm honest. I think Moicano has the skill set to even submit RDA. You know, we know how good Moicano is on the ground. If Moicano hurts RDA on the feet and he gets knocked down, I believe it's over because Moicano is a fantastic finisher. But I can't even remember the last time we've seen RDA badly hurt though and get knocked down.
RDA for getting knocked out back in 2008 by Jeremy Stevens and losing to Eddie Alvarez via first round TKO. He's done a good job defensively. He's fought some heavy hitters. He's fought Murderers Row, and he stayed safe out there, especially when he fought Robbie Lawler for 5 rounds, stayed in the pocket with him. No problem whatsoever. The guy is such a talented fighter here. And I feel like he's more talented.
RDA. I think RDA wins this one. But, you know, it's a tough matchup. And on short notice, too, you got to credit Moicano and you've got to credit RDA because RDA was game to fight anyone. He accepted that fight against Islam Makhachev. For some reason, it didn't happen. Maybe it was the UFC's part. As I asked you, you said maybe the UFC's part.
Yeah, I would say if the UFC wanted it, it's obvious that Islam and Dos Anjos already wanted. So I feel like the UFC maybe said, why risk Islam losing the fight and not getting, losing a streak, or maybe just Islam realized he already earned the title shot. I don't know. It's all speculation, but I'm happy we got a good co-main event out of it. I'm very excited for this fight. I've been waiting for Moicano to get the showcase he deserves here, and now he's getting it. This is kind of like the Bobby Green situation for Moicano here. He's now fighting a guy in the top 10, and if he wins, he could definitely put himself on a path to a title shot eventually. So big opportunity for Moicano here. If RDA loses this fight, it's going to be very tough for his career. But I'm picking Rafael Dos Anjos by decision here. Now we'll talk about the rest of the card. That was a long breakdown we just had of that fight.
Yeah, just to top up on that, it was TMZ. It was the first one to report it, and the UFC actually retweeted their tweet, so they made it official. So yeah.
Well, how about it? We have in the featured bout a featherweight fight. The legend Edson Barbosa. The legend Edson Barbosa versus Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell. I love this fight on paper. The classic striker versus grappler fight. I love it, man. And to see Barbosa as an underdog is, in my opinion, blasphemy. I don't see him being underdog at all in this fight. Sure, does Bryce Mitchell have a grappling advantage? Yes, but is the wrestling elite enough to keep Barbosa there? I don't think so. Barbosa, he fought Makwan Mckinney in December of 2020, and he destroyed him. He got a 10-8 round against him, scored 2 knockdowns. I feel like this is not that different of a matchup. I think Bryce Mitchell is a little bigger, or not bigger, but I would say a little bit of a more powerful grappler than Makwan. But at the end of the day, I think Barbosa has worked that takedown defense and that get him game so much over the years. The guy had to prepare for Habib, for goodness sake. I feel like on the feet, a lot of people think Bryce Mitchell's going to pressure Barbosa. Let's not forget Bryce Mitchell's coming off a huge layoff. We have no idea what it's going to look like out there. And it was an injury to his hands. He broke his hands against Andre Fili, which, if you pointed out, Andre Fili was his last fight. Andre Fili has never even been a top 10 guy. Edson Barbosa was a clear top 5 guy for a while there in the lightweight division. I feel like this is a huge step up for Bryce Mitchell, and it's a bad move for his career to take this fight. This is the most dangerous, explosive, and quick striker he's ever fought. This is a very bad fight for Bryce Mitchell, if you ask me. I think we're going to see Edson Barbosa catch Bryce Mitchell with a flying knee in the second round. And while it stays on the feet before that, I think Bryce Mitchell will try to walk forward against Edson. I think his legs are going to get destroyed. Barbosa fought a better striker in Shane Burgos and knocked him out. I see an inferior striker like Bryce Mitchell probably getting knocked out himself here.
I mean, I've got to agree. That's the only way I see it going. You talked about, the pedigree of both men. Bryce Mitchell, being that talented wrestler, and then Edson Barbosa being that talented striker. He's explosive. We've seen his knockouts in the past, his flying knees, a couple flying knees, and that spinning wheel kick as well. The guy's a killer. He could throw anything at any given time and knock you out. And you talked about a flying knee in the second round. I'm going to go with a combination of punches. I feel like there's going to be the leg kicks that are really going to get it started. And then I feel like we're going to see not Bryce Mitchell kind of give up himself, but maybe say, I kind of really want no more of this. I've took too much punishment. Edson Barbosa, we've seen him get taken down in the past, but he's still got really good takedown defense. Let's have it said. Yeah. He's a hard man to take down. And does Bryce Mitchell have that to take him down? Yes, but is his wrestling good enough to hold him down? I'm not sure. We're going to find out. And if Bryce Mitchell gets past this one, I'll definitely regard him as a top contender. But I feel like this is the matchup where we find out where Bryce Mitchell is. And against the talented striker like Edson Barbosa, not a fantastic matchup in my opinion. I think Edson Barbosa is going to clip him with a combination of punches, and it's going to be over.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of Edson getting a finish. Edson, in his last fight, fought Giga Chikadze, and he ended up getting knocked out in that third round. It was a brutal beating of Edson Barbosa, and that might be the reason why he's in an underdog spot. They might be thinking that Barbosa's hit somewhat of a decline. But, man, you watch that Shane Burgos fight. Edson Barbosa is such a high-level striker, man. The guy is still good, man. And Bryce Mitchell, we don't know what he's going to look like off this layoff. We got no idea. The striking on his end has really never looked good. When he fought Andre Fili, was getting pieced up, man. Like, it was a lot of situations where we saw desperation takedowns, and he did get him against Team Alpha Male guy. So that's not easy because that Alpha Male is a very wrestling-heavy camp, but before that, he was fighting Charles Rosa. Charles Rosa, let's be honest, he's a 50-50 fighter in the UFC, and he lost 2 in a row for the first time. Charles Rosa is awful with the takedown defense, straight up awful with the get game, and that might give people a false sense that Bryce Mitchell's like one of the best grapplers in the featherweight division, which he is, but I feel like they think he'll be more dominant than he actually will be when he's fighting a guy that's low level as Charles Rosa. The jump from Charles Rosa to Barbosa is pretty big. Barbosa has a better get-up game. And as I said, Barbosa has a wealth of experience. Let me give you a little matchup he had before the Mach-1 Americana fight. He fought Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush would tie Bryce Mitchell probably in a pretzel if he fought him, let's be honest. And what he did to Beneil Dariush, I still remember to this day, that devastating flying knee. I think we're going to see a very violent finish for Barbosa here against Bryce Mitchell. I think Bryce is really over his head. I don't believe he's earned it. He's not even ranked at the moment. Now he's fighting a guy in the top 10. I think this is a bad career move for Bryce.
Yeah, 100%. But if he pulls it off, this is the star that the UFC can push. You know how he likes to talk. He's very brash. He speaks his mind. A big risk for the UFC, big risk for Bryce Mitchell. But as we both agree, we don't see it, working out. So unfortunate news if it does not go his way. But I feel like a matchup that we're both going to agree on is Kevin Holland versus Alex Oliveira. Moving down to welterweight for the first time, if I'm correct, from middleweight to welterweight. He takes on Alex Cowboy Oliveira. And I believe we're going to both be in agreement that Kevin Holland wins this one.
Yeah, this is my most confident pick, probably on the entire card, I would say. Kevin Holland did very well for himself in the middleweight division, but he ran into a bunch of huge middleweights in Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori, two of the best wrestlers in the whole division. Those guys are super powerful, and he realized he was at a strength disadvantage and that the weight cut to middleweight wasn't a big one at all. So he said, let's go down to welterweight. And I think this is going to be his new home for quite a while now. He's fighting Alex Oliveira, a guy who's been in the division for several years now. He's got a fairly big name, and I think this is a horrible matchup for Oliveira. Oliveira is the smaller fighter in this fight. He's definitely has the reach disadvantage here. He has a lower output as well. When it comes to the ground game, I'll give an advantage to Oliveira, but he does not have the wrestling pedigree to take it down there. The jump from Marvin Vettori to Oliveira is enormous. It really is. I don't see Oliveira getting any takedowns here. I see Kevin Holland, who is the most accurate striker in middleweight history. Let me repeat that. Most accurate striker in middleweight history. I see Oliveira trying to swing those wild hooks like he always does and getting clipped like he got against Shavkat Rakhmonov, Nico Price, and Yancy Medeiros. The guy finds himself getting clipped quite often, and we're talking about a former middleweight who has plenty of knockouts there, one of them being over Jacare Souza and Joaquin Buckley. I see Kevin Holland finding a knockout here in the second round. I'm very confident in his ability to win the fight. I don't think Oliveira has any skill set that really should make Kevin Holland concerned.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I see Kevin Holland win this one. Pretty much however he wants. I feel like he's gonna be confident. He's gonna be flowing, and that's gonna be the most dangerous Kevin Holland when he's flowing, getting it all together and mixing it up. And Kevin Holland is phenomenal on the feet. He's powerful. He mixes it up. He's well diverse with his strikes. And this is what's going to happen here. I feel like he's going to mix up with his kicks, and he's going to land that right down the pipe, and that's going to put him out. I think Alex Oliveira is going to be put out. And I don't know what the UFC was thinking when they put this one, but it's a good fight if you're Kevin Holland because you're facing a legend, you're facing a guy that's known, and it's a favorable matchup. So Kevin Holland's got a good one on hands. If he loses this one, though, it's a big risk, and it's a big risk, low reward, if sort of thing. And Kevin Holland definitely needs to win this one to start off his middleweight career. But yeah, he needs to get it going. I feel like Kevin Holland is gonna knock out Alex Oliveira, and I feel it's gonna be quite spectacular. Wouldn't surprise me if it's in that first round either.
Yeah, as I said, Yancy Medeiros, not exactly a heavy hitter, and Kevin Holland definitely a heavy hitter. And Yancy was able to put Oliveira in all kinds of trouble. So we'll move on to Sergey Spivak versus Greg Hardy. This is going to be opening up the main card. And I think this is a really good way to open the main card because I see this fight not leaving the second round. Sergey Spivak has a wrestling background. He's got really good submissions, and he's got to win over the guy that just knocked out Greg Hardy, Tai Tuivasa. I feel like Sergey Spivak was never given the proper credit for the Tai Tuivasa win. He went out there in Tai's hometown or home area, and he goes out there and he mauls him. He gets a takedown, and he splits him open with the elbow and chokes him unconscious, I believe it was. And Sergey Spivak, after that, he was kind of up and down his career, but he did get that big win over Alexei Olenek and Jared Bandera. The guy's got excellent ground and pound as well. And he's fighting a guy in Greg Hardy who has very minimal MMA experience. I believe it was 2018 when he started his MMA career. It's only been a couple of years now for Greg Hardy, but his athleticism and his vicious power has sent him quite a long way, and I don't think that's enough when you're fighting Sergey Spivak. I see maybe Sergey getting clipped here, but as we saw when Greg Hardy fought Marcin Tybura, once the guy gets put on his back, the guy's like a fish out of water. The guy doesn't know what to do down there, and Sergey Spivak knows exactly what to do down there. I see Sergey getting either a ground and pound finish or some kind of submission in the first or second round. I'll say second round because we know Greg Hardy has that asthma. The guy would love an inhaler in between rounds, as he once used. And I feel like Sergey will suffocate Greg Hardy here. I think it's going to be not too difficult of a fight for Spivak. But if some way Greg Hardy can defend those takedowns, he's going to be the more powerful striker and find a finish. But I don't see that happening. Usually the better grappler wins in these kind of matchups.
I mean, the difference of level in grappling and if Greg Hardy can strike and he'll get it going, his strength, his power, maybe he'll get it done. But Spivak is going to get this one to the ground as quick as he can, and it's not going to be good night for Greg Hardy. I think I agree with you. The second round, I think it's going to be ground and pound. I think he's going to find himself in side control or on his back or something like that, and just getting punched, and the referee saying that's it, no more. You've took too many, so. Greg Hardy's going to end up in a bad situation in this one, and it's quite a shame. He came in, burst onto the scene, and then everyone wanted to see him lose because they looked at his past. He's always been a guy that everyone hates, and he kind of thrives under that. So let's see what happens this Saturday. I think Spivak takes it. Though. I think he's going to get him to the ground, and he's going to ground and pound him. I think he's going to get him inside, and maybe a side control or a full mount position, and just pummel him into the canvas. I don't see anything else happening. Maybe even an arm triangle, an arm bar, something like that, maybe. But I see ground and pound. I see him wanting to get that ground and pound finish.
Yeah, let's just hope we see a finish of some kind, because if we see a third round, it's going to be super, super ugly out there and sloppy. So we'll move on to the prelims. Very interesting move by the UFC, moving Jalen Turner versus J Milwaukee as the new prelim headliner. Is originally going to be Marina Rodriguez, Jan Xiao Nan, which that could be a number one contender fight right there. I don't feel like it's getting the position it should be getting. But nonetheless, we have a very exciting lightweight showdown here. Jalen Turner is coming off a first-round submission over Uros Medic, and Jamie Mullarkey is coming off a second-round TKO over Devonta Smith. Jamie Mullarkey is when you look up scrapper in the dictionary, you see Jamie Mullarkey. In his first UFC fight, he fought Brad Riddell, and goodness gracious, he took an ungodly amount of damage in that fight, but he still fought back. The guy is unbelievably durable. The guy is, I would say, he's the new age Darren Elkins at this point. He takes the damage early, and he can dish it right back late. And he's fighting Jalen Turner, who is one of the tallest guys in the whole division. It's got a really good reach on him, and he's got a fairly good submission game here. And if you ask me who has more power, it's Jalen Turner. And he doesn't have the gas tank issues that Devonta Smith had. So my pick here will be Jalen Turner by decision. But I see this being a war. I think we're going to see back and forth moments in this fight. Jim Mullarkey's got really good BJJ. It's not high level to the point where I think it would be concerned for Turner. Turner is a guy that people have always praised behind the scenes. Like Michael Bisping trained with Turner in preparation for the Anderson Silva fight. He always praises Turner. And Turner might be one of these gym beasts, a guy that does well in the gym, but once the bright lights are on, doesn't perform as well. But in his last fight, I saw him perform very well. He fought primarily a striker in Uros, tagged him, found an easy submission. I don't see that happening in the Mullarkey fight, but I see him winning a decision here against Mullarkey. But it's going to be a close one, and probably your fight of the night.
Yeah, I've got to agree. It's going to be fight of the night, and it's going to be a very, very close fight. And I've got to agree with you. I think Jalen Turner gets this one done. He's, as you can see, the taller man. He's going to have the reach advantage. The only way I see this Jamie Mullarkey getting it done is a submission, but I feel like Jalen Turner can just do enough on the ground to keep it alive. And then the striking, Jalen Turner, I feel like he's going to be the man in control. He's going to get that striking going very early, and he hits like a truck. And we saw it against in the Brock Weaver fight when he was lighting him up like a Christmas tree. That was terrible to watch. And then obviously in his last fight against
Eurosmedic.
There we go, where he got that submission. I mean, we could possibly even see Jalen Turner hurt him on the feet and get that submission like he's done in a few times in the past few fights.
Yeah, Jalen Turner is a finisher here. Malarkey likes to finish fights as well. I think there's definitely a chance of a finish here, but I'm very confident in both guys' durability, especially Malarkey. So I think we see an excellent war in that fight with Turner coming out on top. And we'll move on to Marina Rodriguez versus Jan Xiao Nan. Marina Rodriguez is a minus 260 favorite in this fight, and I don't exactly agree with it, but I do believe that Marina Rodriguez should win a unanimous decision in this fight. This is going to be a striking battle. I don't see anybody shooting a single takedown in this fight. Jan Xiao Nan is coming off a second-round TKO loss to Karine Silva, but that was a fight where she fought the worst matchup of her career on the ground, and she got mauled. And Marina Rodriguez is not going to present those problems for her. Marina Rodriguez herself, she fought Karine Silva, and she had a much better fight against Karla. Stuffed a couple of the takedowns, and whenever it was on the feet, she gave her hell, and enough for it to be a split decision. And since then, she's gone on a phenomenal run. She in her last fight, she fought Mackenzie Dern as an underdog, and she pieced her up. And before that, she fought Michelle Watterson in the main event. She pieced her up. So Marina Rodriguez has been piecing up some of the best strawweights in the world. And I feel like Jan Xiao Nan is definitely going to be somewhat of a challenge. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about the full skill set, Marina Rodriguez has it. She's got better Muay Thai definitely here. We're going to see a lot of clinches, exchanges, see a lot of elbows thrown, probably a little blood in the mix. But that reach advantage is going to be a huge tool for Marina. If she uses it right, she definitely get the decision here.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I think the better striking is Marina Rodriguez. That the tie clinch, the kicks, just the boxing of Rodriguez is just different. It's different levels. We saw it in the Amanda Ribas fight where she pieced her up, and then I can't remember the following. She might have landed a kick that hurt Ribas really hard. I think it might have been, or I can't really remember off the top of my head. But her tie, was that sorry?
I can't recall.
Yeah, neither can I. Off the top of my head, anyway. But Marina Rodriguez is a phenomenal fighter on the feet, and I feel like she's going to piece up Jan. No disrespect to Jan, but I just see levels of Marina Rodriguez on the feet. She's a fantastic fighter. I feel like she's top 3, top 4. But Marina Rodriguez, she's on a different level at the moment. We saw her lose against Carter Esparza, and ever since then, she's gone on a different wavelength. And I feel like this is going to be the winning fight that gets her at the next title shot after Carter Esparza.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And with the right matchup, we could see Marina become champion. I really think that's a possibility if the right matchup presents itself. And we'll move on to Nikolai Negumereanu versus Kenny and Zexu. This is the matchup of the impossible last names to pronounce. But nonetheless, we'll just go with their first names. Kennedy is coming off a tough loss, the first KO loss of his career, and he fought against Da Jung. That was a close fight until it wasn't. We just saw Jung land a vicious elbow through the guard and put out Kennedy. That was a tough loss. And Nikolai, on the other hand, in his last fight, he got a very low-level opponent in who was it? Ike Villanueva. Yeah, Ike Villanueva. He landed a punch, knocked down Villanueva, and landed a couple behind the ear, finished him off. Not super impressive when you're fighting Ike Villanueva. Before that, he fights a low-level opponent as well. I can't
Alexa Camor?
Yeah, Alexa Camor. Camor lost to William Knight by wrestling. Like, that's another low-level opponent. and he was getting pieced up in the first round with a jab. I really feel that Kennedy should win this fight handily. I feel Kennedy wins every round of the fight if he fights a smart fight. He might start a little slow, but once he puts the pressure on Nikolai and uses his reach, I feel like this is going to be his fight to win, and I think he can get a finish here as well. The guy's got some serious power on his side. He was able to hurt Paul Craig a couple times when they fought. But yeah, I feel like Kennedy should win this fight 9 out of 10 times. I'm not a believer in the Nikolai skill set. I'm really not.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I like Ncheku's chances in this one. You talked about him starting slow. He always starts slow. We saw it in the Carlos Ulberg fight where he just started taking punches, but that eventually tired his man out. This guy's a zombie. He could take a lot of shots. Donnie Jung was the only man, as you talked about, that was to finish him via strikes in his career. But this guy can take a lot of shots. He's very durable. But if you're looking at, except from his last fight, if you look at the other fights, he can take a lot of shots. And the thing he needs to do in this fight differently than his last fight is he's got, as you talked about there, he's got to start quick. He's got to get that. He's got to get his game plan working quick. Get his strikes off early. And if he does land his hands, the guy's got power. He can knock you out. I potentially even see a knockout win for Kennedy in this one. And definitely maybe the round 2, round 1. But if it gets any far on beyond that, I'm going to give it Nick. I feel like it could be his fight.
Yeah. I really feel this is a big spot for Kennedy here. It would be bad in his career to lose to a guy like a Nikolai, who fought abysmal competition before the UFC. And in the UFC, he's managed to fight guys with unimpressive records. So, yeah, I don't think Nikolai should be in the UFC. Kennedy definitely has stuff to improve on. I think he'll show the improvements in this fight. We'll move on to the sole Ukrainian fighter on the card, Marina Moroz. I fully support the people of Ukraine, and I support Moroz in this spot as well against Agapova. Way before the issue started, I was fully rooting for Moroz. I feel she's a better fighter than Agapova. Agapova, of course, was responsible for the biggest upset in UFC history. I believe it was when she lost to Shanna Dobson via second round TKO. She did not pace herself at all in that fight. She completely gassed, and Shanna Dobson, with a losing record, I believe it was, won that fight.
3-4.
So that's a terrible look. But since then, she went out there and fought Sabina Mazo. And Sabina Mazo is a very bright prospect. She's got good boxing, got decent submission skills. She goes out there, and I believe it was that first round, she destroyed Sabina, really pieced her up, had a high output. And in the second round, goes out there, gets a knockdown, and gets a submission immediately after. I could not be more impressed by Agapova's victory there. And Moroz, on the other hand, has been fighting much higher competition. Don't forget, Agapova is straight off the Contender Series. Then she beat Hannah Cifers. Big deal. Moroz has been fighting much better competition. If you want to point to somebody in particular, we're talking about the likes of Mayra Bueno Silva, beat her by unanimous decision. Sabina Mazo, she beat her as well throughout the course of 15 minutes. She did lose to Carlos Barbosa and Angel Hill, but those are, much higher level here. I feel Moroz has slightly cleaner boxing. When you talk about kickboxing, Agapova is definitely better, but I feel like if it stays in boxing distance, I think Morozov wins this. When it comes to grappling, it's going to be a little close. I think Agapova's got the better submissions, but I don't think we'll see it go there. I think Morozov wins a close fight here. I think, yeah. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, another fight I do agree with you. Morozov is, I see, just being the better fighter. When we saw Agapova burst onto the scene in a UFC debut against Hannah Cifers, I thought, wow, you know what? She's got some good skills. She looks good. She has a good prospect. And then she lost against Shanna Dobson. And I felt there's some flaws in her game. She burst out, tried to get the finish, didn't get the finish, and eventually paid the price. The cardio of Agapova, if she doesn't go in there and try and get the finish all out, she could definitely have the likes of winning this matchup, but I think Morozov is going to pace herself perfectly, and I think Agapova is going to be made to miss in this one, and then Morozov is going to take advantage, and I think it's going to be a decision win for Morozov. Never bet on a finish unless it's the big ones. I don't know why.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. This fight likely goes the distance. Moroz definitely has some submissions on her side. If you just want to talk about her first round armbar of Joanne Wood, of all people, also armbarred Karine Silva, who got signed on the Contender Series last year. But when we talk about this fight, we're talking about somebody who I believe is a higher level opponent than Agapova. If you want to talk, the people that Moroz was scheduled to fight: Montana De La Rosa, Tala Santos, Manafero, Luana Carolina. I feel like they're a bit higher level, some of them, than Agapova. I think Moroz extends her win streak to 3 with this victory here via split decision. We'll move on to the early prelims now, which are really stacked, man. Brian Kelleher versus Umar Nurmago. This is a fantastic fight. This could be the co-main event to any fight night, if you ask me. Brian Kelleher has been around the block. He's usually a finisher, but in his last fight, he fought our guy Kevin Kroom, and goodness gracious, he wiped the floor with him when it came to grappling. But on the feet, it was actually very close. Against Umar, it's not going to be close at all. I think Umar is by far the better kickboxer in this fight. He's going to destroy Brian Kelleher's lead leg. He's just gonna have Brian Kelleher confused. Quite honestly, Brian Kelleher, his best punches on the feet are those big hooks, and I think Umar is gonna see him coming and just counter him. Umar, also on the ground, is the better grappler, man. There's not much we haven't already said about these Dagestani wrestlers. Umar is more of a kickboxer. That doesn't mean he doesn't have that wrestling in his back pocket and a tremendous submission game to go along with it. He fought Sergey Morozov in his debut, and the fight wasn't even really competitive. Goes out there, out kickboxes him, and then gets the rear naked choke. I don't know if he finishes Brian Kelleher in this spot, but I definitely think he wins a dominant unanimous decision here. I think this is a great showcase fight for Umar, and he doesn't even have to cut that much weight because Kelleher requested it at featherweight. This is just a bad fight to take for Brian Kelleher, if you ask me. He just signed a new contract, and now he's definitely going to lose this one. I'm so confident that he loses this fight. That's why we have Umar as a -600 favorite, and I agree with it.
Yeah, I feel like this has got to be my most confident pick on the card, or if not, one of. I see Umar Nurmagomedov winning this fight wherever it goes. A bit of being on the mat, being grappling, and being on striking. We know how good he is at striking, and as we talked about, he's got that wrestling in his back pocket. I just don't see Brian Kelleher having any sort of success. In this one, if he does win it, maybe he gets the boom guillotine.
Yeah,
or is it
that's
boom
the only shot. I think so. I think if we see Umar get just a lazy takedown and Kelleher locks it in, that's his only shot, if you ask me. There's no evidence of Umar not being durable. The guy's 13-0, for goodness sake. I think this is definitely Umar's fight to win or lose, and I think he'll win it by unanimous decision. Yep. We'll move on now to Tim Elliott versus Tagir Ullan Beckoff, another guy from Habib's squad over at AKA. Tagir is a Dagestani wrestler. This guy, unlike Umar, definitely pursues the takedowns and the submissions. His last fight against Alan Nascimento, a really good BJJ black belt, it was a super fun fight to watch. All the scrambles, the super tight submission attempts. Tagir was in some tough spots here, and the UFC liked what they saw, so they said, let's put Tim Elliott in there with him. This is going to be scrambles galore. It's not going to be too different from the Brandon Royval fight. I feel both men will be putting tight submission attempts here and just scramble the way out of it constantly, and eventually we're going to see Tagir get the rear naked choke on Tim Elliott here. Tim Elliott, for being a good submission grappler himself, he's definitely been submitted many times as well. So when you look for submissions yourself, you're not you're risking the position, and I think that's what's going to happen here. And on the feet, if you want to talk about who's the better strikers, it's Tim Elliott, definitely. He never looked better than he did against Mateo Nicolau. And yeah, I think if it stays standing, which it will not, Tim Elliott will win on the feet. But yeah, as I said, we're going to see some takedowns here. Tagir finds a submission eventually against Tim Elliott. Do you agree?
Yeah, I've got to agree. As you talked about, Tim Elliott has been submitted in the past 4 times in his 12 losses. So, he's open. He's prone to getting submitted. And as you talk about, that shows, a lack of awareness when he's hunting for his submission. That's where he tends to get submitted. So, maybe too aggressive on the submissions. But I think Tagir, Ullan Beckoff is the better grappler as well. So, I feel this is a tough matchup for Tim Elliott. I feel like Tim Elliott is a good fighter. On his day, but I feel like he's got a tough matchup against Tagir. So I feel bad for Tim Elliott. He's a veteran, been inside the sport a while, and I just don't see him getting this one done. I think Ullan Beckoff is going to be victorious this Saturday.
Yeah, I think this could also be, if Ullan Beckoff doesn't want to pursue submissions, it could be a spot where we see Tim Elliott just stay on his back like he did against Nicolau and lose the decision. Either way, I see Ullan Beckoff winning the fight. And Manon Fiorot is off the card. She will not be fighting Jennifer Maia on March 26th.
Yeah, there we go.
That's the fight right there. I would have picked Manon Fiorot against Jessica all the way. And now we'll move on to Devonta Smith versus Ludovic Klein. This is another fight of the night contender, if you ask me. Two very powerful lightweights. These are guys that do not like to leave it in the hands of the judges. If you look at both of their records, the vast majority of the finishes are via KO. Ludovic Klein loves those head kicks, and Devonta Smith loves those big winning strikes to put guys away. And more often than not, it's worked out for him. But he's kind of one of those fighters that hunts for the knockout, and when they don't get it, they gas out and their opponent takes over. Ludovic Klein, when he fought Nate Landwehr, that kind of was the case for him too. He just got outworked, and then eventually he was tired and just folded under pressure and got submitted. This is going to be a close fight. Devonta Smith probably will clip Ludovic Klein here, but I see Ludovic surviving and winning a third round TKO. Yeah, that's gonna be my pick here. Third round TKO for Ludovic Klein here. But I think we're gonna see a situation where both guys get hurt. It's just who's able to put the other guy away.
Yeah, this is a really, really, really tough matchup, as you were talking about. Both of heavy hands. Devonta Smith, I remember him knocking out
Julian Rosa.
There we go. Back in the day. I can't. Then he returned his last fight. Who did he return against? J Milwaukee. There you go. Then he got knocked out. Yeah. He's a go. Get finished, or he gets finished. He's been finished twice now. Got finished against Karma Worthy. When Karma Worthy stepped in at short notice, knocked him out, and then he got knocked out against Jamie Milwaukee. So that's two losses, 2 KO losses out of 2. So. Will he be able to take the punches from Ludovic Klein? And with Ludovic Klein, we saw him burst onto the scene with that knockout against Shane Young, if I'm correct, and he hits hard. And then in Ludovic Klein in his last fight did have the best performance against Mike Triziano, if I'm correct as well. But I like Ludovic Klein. I'm on the Ludovic Klein train, and I feel like he gets back in the win column here against Devonta Smith, and I think he gets the knockout as well.
Yeah, one thing to note here: Devonta Smith does have a wrestling background, but he doesn't really use it here, so it's not going to be a problem for Ludovic Klein to eventually find that knockout.
To correct myself as well. Devonta Smith has been knocked out 3 times out of his 3 losses.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a big factor in this fight. Devonta Smith's ability to take a shot, which Ludovic Klein, if you let him throw a combination that ends with a head kick, your night probably is over. So let's move on to the opener. Somehow, someway, this is the opener. Dustin Jacoby, the veteran, versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. This is a banger, man. Both guys are knockout artists. Jacoby, in particular, The record doesn't exactly tell a story on him because it doesn't include his kickboxing record, which he fought in Glory Kickboxing, and he did quite well for himself there. Eventually, he went back to MMA, and he's doing quite well for himself in MMA. In fact, ever since he returned, he's not taken a single loss. Sure, he had that draw against Iwan Kutalaba, but he lost the first round 10-8. In those last 2 rounds, he was fighting a tired Kutalaba. Just put it on him. And the guy's a stud. He's very durable. He's got good output. As I said, world-class kickboxing. And he's fighting Michal Oleksiejczuk, a super heavy hitter, man. In his last fight, he fought Shamil Gamzatov, who was an undefeated 13-0 Russian in Abu Dhabi. Goes out there, flatlines them in 2 minutes. That shows you the level of Oleksiejczuk. Before that, he fought our guy, Modestas Bukauskas. He gets a split decision win there. I don't think he deserved to win that fight. But nonetheless, he's a heavy hitter. His strong suit is not the ground, and it's not the strong suit for Jacoby either. Jacoby has mixed in a couple takedowns in the past, but that's not the way he fights. In his last win, he fought John Ullan in Madison Square Garden. Definitely got the win there. Just outpointed him the whole fight. And before that, he fought Darren Stewart, TKO'd him standing in the first round. I think Jacoby is a slightly cleaner in technical striker here. As we saw against Modestas, Michal does not have a super high up, but he kind of relies on those big power shots. I think he knocks down Jacoby here, but Jacoby has shown the ability to fight back, and I think we could see a draw here or a win for Jacoby here, but it's going to be a close one. I see Jacoby by split decision.
Yeah, it seems like we're on the same route. Justin Jacoby is definitely going to get knocked out in this fight, and I think it's going to be in that first round. And we saw it against Ian Kutalaba. The first round, Jacoby, seems to look at his opponent. Seems to see what's coming back at him, and he seems to not lack of concentration, I'd say, but he gets knocked down a few times in that first round, and he got knocked down against Ian Kutalaba and Michelle. Olin Shainchek has the possibility to definitely knock him down. He's got the hands and the power, and he relies on that one shot. And as you talked about, the volume is not always there. You always look for that one shot, that killer shot, but the volume is there for Dustin Jacoby. This guy is a killer. He's a stud on the feet. The kicks, the push kicks, just everything about him. The low kicks, the calf kicks. He's perfect on the feet. That's where he really shines. And I feel like he's going to pick away Michelle in round number 2 and round number 3. And I feel like round 1 will be tough for him, but he'll get away with it. And I think he's going to get a unanimous decision, but it'll be a close one. I feel like this could be a decision we'll talk about next week where we could have said this could have went either way. Yeah.
One thing that kind of gives me confidence here is Jacoby is a real light heavyweight. Michal, we've always said, is kind of a guy who probably would fit best in the 195 weight class, or maybe could find his way at middleweight. The guy's just 6 feet tall, so I think Jacoby's the bigger guy here. So maybe we see some exchanges in clinch. I think Jacoby would have the advantage there too. And also, Michal is kind of a boxing-heavy guy, and that could definitely be interfered with by the leg kicks of Jacoby. And now we see this card as a whole. The graphics we have on the screen at the moment do not include the wonderful co-main between RDA and Moicano. That's going to be a fun fight.
Yeah, 100%. So that pretty much puts up on the wrap of the card. But you know what that brings us to? Silver Slips, UFC 272, a 4-fight parlay or bets that you would choose on for UFC 272. Go ahead. All right,
Oscar. So what we do is we pick 4 spots on the card that we like. I'm never shy to pick big favorites here, and yeah, I'm gonna pick them. Umar Nurmago. Why wouldn't I pick him? Let's be honest. And then parlay him with the inside the distance on Spivak versus Hardy. Parlay that with Kevin Holland, and on top of that, parlay that with Covington by decision.
So we got Umar Nurmagomedov, Spivak inside the distance, Kevin Holland by knockout.
No, just straight up.
Just straight up. And then we've got
Covington by decision.
Covington by decision. What's your most confident pick on the card that you would say?
Yeah, I personally believe the most confident pick on the card is actually Kevin Holland. I said Alex Oliveira. He doesn't have the power to threaten Kevin. He doesn't have the wrestling the power to threaten Kevin. And when you want to talk about the physical attributes, Kevin Holland should have this fight in the background, honestly. I think he gets the performance of the night bonus when it's all said and done.
There we go. I've got your bets written down. We will look at them next week, see how you got on. What do you reckon is going to be the biggest takeaways that we'll have from this weekend?
The biggest takeaways from this card is that this was just a bad matchup on paper for Jorge. This is just going to be, as I said, probably a 50-45 for Colby Covington. And I think both guys, I think a big storyline coming out will be both guys just shaking hands after they were friends again, and, fighting it out probably will calm down the tension, obviously.
Yeah. There's a few things that we could catch up on with the news. We could talk about Kane Velasquez. Unfortunate situation there. So.
Yeah, so Kane Velasquez was arrested yesterday on the suspicion of an attempted murder. Allegedly, he shot a man, and the guy went to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Thank goodness, because that'd be kind of a stain on Kane Velasquez if he would have killed the guy. We have no real details on the incident. We don't know if it was self-defense. We don't know if Kane Velasquez was in some kind of altercation with the guy and it just escalated. We have nothing to let us know about this. I hope Kane is well mentally. We know that he's dealt with a lot of injuries, and now he's formed himself into a coach. He was actually in the corner of Gable Benitez 2 weeks ago. So I hope he's doing well. I hope this was just an act of self-defense. We can only hope for the best.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree. I hope everything was all right there with Kane Velasquez. One of the greatest heavyweights of all time that we've seen in the recent era. So, even in the past era, knocking out Brock Lesnar, knocking out Fabricio Werdum, getting that finish over Junior Dos Santos as well. So, this guy's a killer, but, not that sort of killer. I really don't see Kane Velasquez resulting to a gun and shooting someone. If he wanted to hurt someone, he could just beat them up. He would have them. An ordinary guy, he would be able to just smash them. So
let's just hope it was a situation where he could not use that because the guy was armed himself. Let's just hope that's the situation there. So we hope that's for Kane Velasquez. But let's talk about the whole situation we had with the Rafael dos Santos sweepstakes. It was just wild. On the MMA Hour yesterday, we had Rafael dos Santos in the middle of an interview get told by Ariel Helwani that Fiziev is officially out of the fight. And you can see that Dos Santos kind of already knew that was a possibility, but he was pretty crushed. And he said he'd fight anybody. And we had so many guys raise their hand. Renato Moicano, Islam Makhachev, even Paul Felder joked around, said that he'll dive right in there. But eventually the UFC went with Renato Moicano. Very happy to see it. But man, could you just have imagined Islam Makhachev stepping in there already and just smashing RDA? The story that would be. But unfortunately did not come to fruition, and we're left with a really fun co-main event. As we both said, it's going to be a close fight, and if Moicano gets that upset, it's going to be an amazing moment in his career.
Yeah, could you imagine it? It throws him right in there, deep end of the lightweight division. So he's got a big opportunity, as we spoke about, and if he takes it with full hands, like he goes in there and gets it and gets the job done, man, he's probably completed a lifelong dream of getting in the rankings at the top 5, top 10. So he was up there in the featherweight division, but eventually, there we go. Eventually, he lost against Jose Aldo, didn't he? So
and Korean Zombie, he was a favorite against Korean Zombie in a fight in that main event. That's the position Moicano was in back in 2019. So I hope he can return back to that form that he was once in. And that kind of wraps it up for our UFC 272 talk. Next episode, we'll be back to recap all of the action emanating from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And then we'll be there to preview UFC Vegas 50. Yes, the 50th fight out of the Apex between Magomed Ankalaev and Thiago Santos. I cannot wait for that one. I say bet your bank account on Magomed Ankalaev there. I think that's going to be his big showcase win.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. We'll talk about all that good stuff next week. As you said there, UFC 272 goes down this weekend, and next week we get to talk about it all. So make sure you join us next Tuesday, where we get to talk about everything that happened. I'm guaranteed we'll have a lot of headlines to talk about next week. So fantastic episode once again, 1 hour and 45 minutes, and I guarantee you will have a good episode next week. So make sure you tune in Tuesday next week, where me and Oscar recap it all, and we talk about Magomed Ankalaev versus Thiago Santos. Thank you all for joining, and we see you